Hey, hello! Back for another walk with me. I think this is series number 2 for you guys. Series number 3 for those that were walking in the private group before. And this is number 8. So I'm counting them because my counting is also my accountability. Not that I can do this every day. And if you watched yesterday's number 8, sorry, this is number 9. Number 9. Yesterday was number 8. So I had to take a break because I had to get well and I couldn't breathe very well. I had a flu. So, but I am back and I am walking. So this is actually my 3rd walk of the day. And each time I went to walk, I ended up at a labyrinth. This morning I walked the labyrinth and then I walked the labyrinth and then I came back and I walked the lake and I ended up on a phone call. And now I'm walking again just so I can record this for you guys. And it is absolutely beautiful. So it's a gorgeous day to do it. I can't believe this is like October the 16th, 17th. I don't even know the freaking date. And it is like 18 degrees or something here today. So loving, living in, heading closer south, more central. So our talk today is about rising above our thoughts and getting above our thoughts. And that's why I walked the labyrinth this morning. If you haven't walked the labyrinth, you don't need one to walk. You can literally like just start taking your pen on a piece of paper and drawing your way in to get very clear and then circle back out again. And so when I was walking this labyrinth this morning, it was walking with God and walking in deep meditation. It's a prayer walk, it's a meditation walk, it's whatever you want. And so as I walked it, and as I was walking this morning, it was when I first started, I started to record for you guys. And I'm like, oh yeah, this will be great. I can walk and record. And I was getting tangled over my feet and my words and realized that it was actually for me and not for anyone else first. So I walked it, still got earbuds in. I walked it for me and I realized a few things. So one was how much our thoughts do control us, or how many thoughts we have. I mean, we can't stop all of our thoughts, but how our thoughts own us and have ownership over us, we definitely have some control over. And that was one of the things that I did this morning, was really pay attention to that. And then I thought thought I had let kind of everything go, and I'm like having a really good morning. I think I'm in a good mood, and I think and then I realized as I was walking there was a brick that had been out of place. Now this labyrinth is new and there was a brick out of place. And someone had uprooted the brick, or the brick uprooted, I don't know, but I created 1,000 stories. And I was just coming around the turn of this labyrinth, and I instantly thought that it was my job, my responsibility. I would have to stop and fix this. So here I am, stop doing what I'm doing, break out of my meditation to fix this rock, and then had all kinds of conversations about how, how it's not being cared for, how it's not being appreciated, and, how people are just running around it and blah, blah, blah. And what I realized, frustration. And I went, oh, Corey. So there was frustration all over a brick out of place and not being kind of appreciated somehow. And then I realized the brick represented so much more. And as I found myself walking, I was guided to stop right where I was and look back, and it looked like I was so close to the problem, but also so close to where I started, but also so close to being in the very middle. And I'm like, how is that? Like when you look back and you look back to where the problem was, it looks so close. But if you look at the trail that you took, if you look at the whole path that you had just walked, you realize, oh my God, it's actually farther away than what I thought. And just to know which way I'm going to walk. And I went, oh, so when we spend so much time really trying to, like we talked about yesterday's walk, about, you know, how big our problems get. When you spend so much time laser, you know, laser focused on trying to get out of your thoughts, sometimes you don't realize how deep into your thoughts you are. And you're deeper into them than you ever could have imagined, or what you ever would have thought you were into. And so what I discovered in that moment was a greater awareness of how far I have come. And what came up for me was impairment. And what is impairing? What impairs my thought, or what impairs my thoughts? What is the impairments that stand in the way, which become obstacles? What impairs my ability to be able to see sometimes the solution instead of the problem? And what stands there? What is watching the birds? What is right there? And what I come to realize, that frustration really truly represents all previous versions of self. So that brick, with all those bricks that were laid out, and they were not one of them, when I look back, not one was perfectly in place. But why would this one stand out to me? And it was because I was so close to making a turn into narrowing down or coming to the end of the walk in. And that's kind of where my biggest obstacles in my life lay, is when I'm so close to something, or kind of so close sometimes to achievements, or finding my way through. There's always, it feels like, or senses, or there's a feeling, or it is real truth, that something else shows up. Now, I sometimes make that bigger than what it is. And I'm stopping right here because there's like all kinds of trails that I can take, and I'm looking all directions. And I just heard, just stand right here. And when I got that feeling, or that story about the impairments, I was told to stand and look, and there's a bridge on each side of this new labyrinth. And standing on the bridge was this mirage image of, and I'm going to say it, a mirage image of this healer who once walked upon earth, and his name would be Jesus. And all of how he would show himself would be the light of the Lord Jesus Christ energy. So it would be like the white light, this massive, big, crystal clear mirage of this man standing in this light. And instantly I just had this sense of, oh, I want to walk over there. And he said, no, you don't walk towards me, walk up to me. Walk up. Don't walk towards me, walk up to me. And in that moment, I realized that the impairments of the thoughts is that we often walk back into the problem, we walk back into our old self, we walk back into old habits, because we're not walking above. We're not thinking above. We're not thinking, we don't remember, we often forget that we are not who we used to be. And so you often hear me talk about breaking up with our old selves. But in that moment, I realized that outside of my thoughts was the deepest of clarity. But while we're in it, or while we keep trying to walk in to solve them, that we also then are not able to see, we're trying to get clear in our thoughts, is that our thoughts sometimes becomes more thoughts because we're trying to create ways to clear those thoughts. We're trying to create ways to do the things that we want to do. We're trying to find ways to step forward. But what if it's not forward? Right? And so it's not always forward, because there's still an impairment that comes with feeling like we have to achieve, feeling like we have to be accomplished, feeling like we have to achieve or accomplish something, achieve something, strive for something. So we're always striving and surviving and doing, whereas rising up is we stop doing and we start allowing. And the impairment is sometimes us in our determination, our strength, our big ass whys, our need to achieve the goals, our need to be something better than we were in the past, which means we're still connecting to the past versions of ourselves. So when we still want to be somebody better than what we were in the past, we're still impaired by that past story. And so I see myself today in this labyrinth, and as I stood in the very, very middle, there was a kid with a pumpkin, a red stone with a pumpkin in the middle, a carved pumpkin. And I'm like, you can put a mask on anything. You can even turn a pumpkin into a scary freaking monster. It's amazing what we can do. And so I really realized that, not realized, I know it. I know this, I just was having a moment, that the biggest impairment that we have is it's not a person. We often want to blame it on a person or the world or situations, but it's all previous versions of ourselves that we see through, that we hear through, that we connect to, and also our image and our old beliefs of what we think something holier or more than our God consciousness, our Christ-like light. We create an image, a story even around that we then try to either live up to, or we discount, or we hate on, or anything, or we go into judgment stories and we get ourselves involved in arguments and discussions, and then we set ourselves up for stepping more and more into a deeper sense of despair and misunderstanding, and because we keep trying to have that validation, that proof that something has to be a specific way. But it doesn't always mean something has to be a specific way. It means if we look up and we get clear, we get narrowed in, and we get out of the thought, and we move beyond the thought, and we go into the place of believing, hope, back into the place of magic. So what I realized in that labyrinth, as I got in, as I came out of, I looked back and I'm like, that's effing magical. How it took me an hour to walk that circle that would have took everyone else that was going in 5 minutes, and it looked so quick and so fast, but I had taken so many paths and so many trails in and so many paths and so many trails out, and I was in the most peaceful place in my life. And I'm like, that's so interesting. It's so big, yet it's so little, yet it's so complicated, yet it's so simple. What made the difference? I let go, and I allowed myself to be guided in and back out. And as I came back, I come back out, I'm like, all we have to do is just close our eyes, let go of the thought, and let the light come on. Because our thoughts are never in the light. Never. When we let go of all thought, all desired outcomes, all everything, and we just breathe into it, the light comes on. And when the light comes on, the answers appear, clarity comes, and before you know it, you have walked into the solution, out of the problem, and living another life. And it's not that you're a different person, it's that you freed yourself from all the people thought you had to be. And you no longer have the impaired vision, the impairments of the world. It's called freedom, and it's liberating. And when I looked back, once I came out, I felt accomplished. And then I started to see versions of me, like a 16-year-old modeling the ugliest wedding dress that there was, because it was the biggest size, and I was afraid to try on the other ones. So I put on that one so I wouldn't be laughed at or embarrassed that another dress would not fit me when I was 15, 16. And I seen the girl that either which way, no matter what she was wearing, was still courageous enough to walk it on the stage. The girl who couldn't have the new figure skates, but skated anyway, still did her best. And then I started to see the woman who, no matter what, gets back up, stands back up. And I seen the woman that's always in the solution and not always in the problem. And then I realized how powerful my thoughts have been. And that was freeing and liberating. I liberated me. You have to liberate you. Much love. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.